welcome to Unarmored Talk podcast, where we will have real life conversations that helps you develop an accurate way of thinking. And the way we're going to do this is by gaining a better understanding of how feelings, emotions, and thoughts can influence the outcome of a personal or professional challenge. I'm your host, Mario P. Fields, and today's guest is Robin Fortner, Sergeant Major, United States Marine Corps, retired. I think she did about 150 years of active duty honorable service. She's amazing, and I think she's about 6'6". Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mario, for that. How you doing? I am so honored to be here on your show today.
Hey, I am doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. Well, hey, can you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Since you did a great job doing it for me, let me just correct a little bit of that. But to everybody out there, definitely, my name is Robin Fortner, and I am a Sergeant Major in the United States Marine Corps, retired. But I did 30 years, and every day I wake up, I stand 5'10". Although he's giving me a little extra, I'll take that extra as well. But I do stand 5'10". But seriously, though, I mean, I live right now in the Virginia area, retired Marine, love what I'm doing right now, a mother of two, and looking to become an entrepreneur in this next life as I reflect on the past 30 years and all the experience and leadership that it's given me as well. Originally from New York City, so we'll kind of talk about that a little bit as we continue on, but happy to be here, Mario, across the whole country, one coast to the next.
I like it. When you become an entrepreneur and you start your business, you're going to need somebody to open the front door. So Mario P. Fields, I'll give you the last four once we get off this show. And I'll be on your team. No, thanks. And again, we're blessed to have you on Unarmored Talk podcast. But let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into the topic. Okay. You know, you're 22 years old.
Yeah.
Life seems great. You know, you're a Marine, right? You're a Marine. Yeah. And doing well. And then all of a sudden you lose a very important part of your life. And that's out of nowhere, your mother. Right. She died. You get where she dies. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So again, you know, I mean, everybody has that life-altering change event. And for me, I'm going to be honest with you, that was mine very, very early to me in my career. I had been in the Marine Corps about 4 years at that time. So just to back up a little bit, she didn't just die automatically. She was diagnosed with cancer, terminal. And so, you know, that kind of started the process, if you will, of that journey, but very new for me as a young adult. Not only was I a young adult, I was a young mother. So, you know, as I recall back, the year was 1994. I had just returned from Okinawa. I did a 1-year tour in Okinawa at the time. And I left my daughter at the time with my mother. Wow. So, you know, many Marines, many service members, they do that. You know, they have that family background to help them support, whether it's a deployment or a PCS, they're able to do those type of things because they have that family structure, that family support. And at the time, I thought I did too, right? Well, I did. And no other person could take care of my mom other than me, but my mom, or take care of my daughter other than me, but my mom. So of course, let her hold her for a year. She enjoyed every bit of it. Being grandmother, I remember getting pictures and all types of stuff. So needless to say, by the time I come home from Okinawa, you don't think anything is wrong. You just didn't think anything was wrong. I had no idea that she felt sick some of those days. And, you know, she, of course, just like many of us, you kind of suppress a lot of those things because you know people are dependent on you. And she did exactly that. So by the time I picked up my daughter, again, I'm thinking we was already planning Thanksgiving dinner and who's going to, you know, travel where. And I'm ready to host my mom. And before we can even get to that point, I had got a phone call that one of her lungs had collapsed and they had to rush her to the hospital. And that's when reality hit me. So automatically I'm ready to come home to New York. And I jump in my car. I just remember jumping in my car with my daughter and we're driving up to New York. Back then, 10, 12 hours easy, but 95 was nothing for me. So we went to New York. I get to the hospital and that's when I learned that her lung didn't just collapse, but the cancer had eaten up one lung completely and 3/4 of the other lung. Needless to say, she was already stage 4, terminally ill. And I'm going to be honest with you, Mary, at the time, you know, 22 years old, I didn't understand all of it.
You know, what's interesting is listening to you, you know, how I believe sometimes we take the future for granted, like it's going to be there.
Yeah.
And listening to you, how you imagine Thanksgiving with mom,
Mm-hmm.
right, imagining your daughter, right, the granddaughter
Yeah.
showing mom, and Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving,
Family.
and then reality
Yeah.
hits where your imagination is quickly, you know, just blown
Go.
away through this diagnosis. What when you went into the hospital and in reality
Yeah.
um, sunk in, right? What emotions did you feel at that point? Here's your mom,
Right. Right.
your mentor, your young lady. You got her. You can lean on her. How do I raise my daughter? Because she raised you now. And how did we? And now all of a sudden you got to come with losing her.
Right, right, exactly. I mean, when I was driving up, it was still more, you still thought, because I didn't know the severity, you still thought she's going to get past this, right?
Mm.
We've had other family members in the hospital. She's going to get past it. And even when they use the word and all the lung and all that good stuff, I'm like, okay, there's somewhere around this, right? It's the year 1994. Technology is not like it is now, but it was
Right.
better than what it was, right? So I'm still thinking there's some way to get around it. But I remember the day the doctor came in and he told us the magical word 6 months or less. That's when emotions took over. Because before then it was like, what do we need to do to get past it, right? Again, I think I've always been bred with a survival type mentality. So just tell me what I need to do. But at that point, you feel not just emotion of I'm going to lose my mom, but you feel helpless.
Yeah, and so you talked about helpless, because
Yes.
you get this news 180 days essentially, and you're going to lose the love of your life, your mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and now you have this helpless emotion.
Mm-hmm.
How did that impact you? How did you get
Absolutely.
that help? What does that mean? What did that feel?
Right, right. And I think you hit it on the head, and just the love it, like all you knew, right? I mean, this is my mother, and I come from a fatherless childhood. So not only is it a parent, it is the parent, and it's the only living parent to me. So helpless as one, I can't help her. And two, I can't help myself. I don't even know how to help myself right now, because she was everything to you, getting you off, whether it's a boot camp, college, whatever case may be, you knew you had your mom that you could call on. I mean, I remember getting pregnant with my daughter, and I was like, if my mom says I'm good, right? I don't care what nobody else said. So here it is. It was like, how do I even help myself? So those emotions took over because it was now what? And even though you felt helpless, I couldn't help the situation. As far as her diagnosis, I knew I had to help her for the next 6 months. And even then, I just didn't know how I was going to do that because I was stationed in North Carolina. This is New York. And, so now there's other emotions and thoughts that come running through your head. How do I do that? I remember going back down to North Carolina. And as soon as I got down there, my leadership, they understood enough about what's going on, and they started calling Headquarters Marine Corps so that I can be placed on, with an I&I unit up there. And I was like, never even knew that even existed, right? So they was able to get me up to New York so that this way I can still fulfill both my career and be home with my mom every day. So that, although I was grateful, but man, you talk about the most challenging time. I mean, to be there as a caregiver and watch someone deteriorate 25 years later, Mario, I don't know if I've ever really gotten over that ever.
Wow. And as a young lady, here you are in the development stage. I think we always will develop until we,
right,
pass away. But here is your confidant to develop as a young lady.
Yeah.
And now you're going to lose her. How did that play a role in your career and in you developing and getting through this traumatic event?
Right. The 6 months I was up there, I actually stayed in New York for about 9, but I was pretty gung ho, right? So I was a good sergeant back then. I had gotten meritoriously promoted, so I was really on a road, and I was loving the Marine Corps. But I remember being at a low during that time period where you start not caring, right? So there's other priorities that was coming up, just And I started to, that the Marine Corps started to get pushed to the side. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Right.
I would go to work, but my focus was not there. My focus was, I need to be home, because my bedridden mother needs me, right? Yeah, we had a nurse to come in, but when the nurse left and I came home, it was like high five.
Right.
And I became a nurse at 22. I literally became a nurse. I learned how to do everything so that she could be taken care of in the middle of the night. And I remember sleeping at the foot of her bed on the floor for that entire time so that I can be near her
Right.
when she needed me. And then sleep in the bed for that entire time. I slept on the floor because that's what I chose to do. Slept right by her the entire time. So, and that's why I said the Marine Corps couldn't fill that void for me at that moment. My focus truly was on taking care of my mother. And it went from, she took care of me for years. She took care of my daughter. Now in an instant, there's strong, I think that's the hard part. Strong, capable woman needed, someone to take care of her at a tender age of 45, 46 by the time she actually passed.
Wow. So, and listening to you, I want to highlight that you're still mom. You still have, your child.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to you as you're laying every night at the, the feet of the foot of the bed for your mom to be there. The duties of being an active duty Marine, you're an NCO, I want to say.
I was a sergeant at the time. Mm-hmm.
So the obligations of being an active duty sergeant,
yeah,
and still being a parent to a young child, and then helping your mom. How did you get through that?
Yeah, exactly. Sleepless nights, right? If anybody knows me now, they know Robin still don't sleep much at night. So that's
we'll talk offline, Robin. I'll make sure I talk to my doctor to get you.
I put that on my claim, but I don't, and I've always been a night owl anyway. But that's just one thing. I think anybody, when people are depending on you, you step up. Right. I mean, even in the military, if your brothers to the left and right depends on you, and that's one thing we foster, that type of mentality, you step your game up. And that's what I had to do. I had to take care of the house. I had to take care of her. I had to make sure my daughter was still taken care of. I remember finding a babysitter up there so that I can go to work, and I had to come on, all the life balance that we do right now that many people do. Instead, I had to come home, and it wasn't about me. It was about taking care of family. I had a brother at the time who was in high school. He was 17 at the time. So, again, he too needed things from a parent. Although I wasn't a parent, when he needed things, I had to make sure those were taken care of. But I grew up fast. My mom had 3 children, but I was named the executrix of her estate. And if you know anything about losing someone, when you name someone the executrix, they take care of all the affairs. And I didn't understand it all, but I had to learn it quick. I had to learn how to make sure her will was in place, and just all the logistics behind burying a parent or a loved one, and making sure from the house and my brother and just all of her affairs was in order. At 20, I had to learn. Really, I was learning how to do that, and that just took a lot out of me. I will say that time period, it drained me. It drained a lot out of you. But you find, I'm not sure if I have one answer for you, because I look back and I ask myself, how the heck did I do that? But you find that strength in yourself, and sometimes you don't know how strong you are until you're put into a predicament where you have to show it. And I don't wish it on anybody to have to be in that predicament, but I will say that being there helped me to realize what it is that I needed to do. And I knew I can carry on. Just how do I carry on? How do I push forward? Because there was many days where I wish I could pick up a phone. Many days, even to this day.
And I like how you highlighted, you didn't allow your emotions and feelings to overrun your behavior. You thought through things, things that make sense, but you thought through them, and it influenced your behavior. And I like how you said how you had to learn. I don't think I've ever heard that one when someone says I have to learn how to be, the lead person, executor of
Right.
an estate for my
Mm-hmm.
parents at 22.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to bury my mom. Learn
Mm-hmm.
how to be a mother, for my child. Learn how to be a sergeant at work and not allow my emotions and feelings and what's going on
Yeah.
influence my performance. That is a lot. And
Yeah, you didn't
so,
realize it.
so with all of that, as I'm listening to you and it's sinking into me, did depression set in at all during this challenge?
Yeah, I think I'm more knowledgeable on what depression is
Mm,
today than I would tell you I was back then. I don't think mental health was even a thought process. I, I can be honest with you, it wasn't. It just wasn't. I think a lot of people go through different stages of their life, either depressed, have anxiety, things that we have medically defined. I don't recall that even coming into a thought process that I was,
right.
even though today, when you look at a definition, you can pull out and go, huh, you know,
Wait a minute.
right in there, like I fit all of that, but you didn't, my world, we just didn't speak those terminologies. I did not speak, and nor did I seek help.
Yeah, no, not, and I like how you mentioned, and the part of this podcast is to teach people how to accurately think, and I like how you highlighted that now that you've gotten the right empirical information,
Right.
objective data, where you can go, wait a minute, I
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't tired or I
No.
wasn't overwhelmed. I was actually depressed in 1994.
But you
And
just you just don't know, right?
right,
So you and you learn to just deal with, right? So you and I think for me, we've always dealt with adversity of some sort, whether it's
right.
financial adversity, things like that, right? So I didn't grow up well to do, right? We grew up struggling to some degree, but at the same time, we had a lot of love in the house. But so I've always learned how to overcome and be resilient. And those words, mental health, is just not that. Wasn't very popular. And even now, I think we still struggle with getting people to understand exactly what that is. I think we in the military, we see it more, but everybody don't. So I never really thought about it from there. So I never fell back on those terms. I just tried to keep going forward. But it doesn't mean there wasn't days where you get emotional, like out the blue,
Right.
or like I recall just wanting to feel and see her, or wanting to, surround myself with things that she had, not to get too emotional now, whatever, but for me, angels is a big thing in my house, right? So there's a story behind that. And angels for me is huge, but it reflects the last words I said to her
Mm,
was her promise to be my guardian angel.
wow.
Last words.
And those were the last words that you said to your mother before she
That we
passed.
both said, and I can't say she said it because she was so weak.
Mhm.
She couldn't really, there was not a lot, there was not voice coming out. She mouthed the word yes. And she nodded her head, and then she kind of rolled over. And those was the last words we spoke, because by the time the sun rose the next morning, she was gone. So those are the type of things that I always remembered as, because I think at that point, it really became real, even though the 6 months was told and all that stuff. But that point is when it really sunk in that this is happening, like today. This
Right.
is happening within the next 12 hours. There's a HBO special that most people don't know. And I'm gonna be honest, Mario, anybody watching knows this is the first time I've spoken outwardly about this time period of my life. So most people don't know, but there's a HBO special that was done to help people understand hospice, and they chose my mother to be a part of that. So you can really see her story in that HBO special, and it's called Hospice Letting Go. It's really old at this point, but I think you can find it on YouTube. I personally have not seen it because even still 25 years later, I can't watch it. I just can't watch it. But I do know it's out there and it's meant to help people who have loved ones who may be going through a hospice program. So for anybody out there, by all means. But that, again, that day, I remember there's a scene in HBO where they shot that scene that exact day. And it was after that scene when the cameras left and everybody left the house. Normally when everybody leaves, it's really just me and her, right? So that's when it sunk in that, yeah, this is happening within 12 hours. So I asked her to be, because I knew I needed help. How I'm going to navigate this world without the one person who brought me in. So, and I understood, you know, biblically and spiritually, I understood that. But when this is happening, you're so young, you don't understand why it's happening. And I fell into I didn't quite understand why. So you get a little bit of, you know, anger, if you will. Like, how do we let this happen? You know, to this God-fearing, you know, faith-believing woman. But God needed her more, right? So, you know, I trust and believe that now. But then it was hard. But Angels is huge for me.
No, and your reflection, you know, and I love how you reflected. You know, you reflected, you know, on that challenge, and then highlighted again how you just managed to think through it and not just, you know, Robin, you could have just emotionally just broke down and been ineffective for everybody, including your 17-year-old brother. But that's just amazing. You know, as you reflect back on that time, which was essentially, you know, over 20 years ago, but it seems like probably yesterday for you, I believe. What advice could you give the listeners and viewers who either, one, are going through that, or two, they may go through it, because we can't, just like in your case, we can't imagine what's going to happen tomorrow. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think at that time for me, one of the biggest challenges that I didn't feel like I had an outlet. Remember, mental health wasn't big. I didn't go seek help. So I didn't feel I truly had an outlet because none of my friends truly understood. Because you don't always find anybody young losing parents. It happens. Don't get me wrong. Some way younger, but you're not always in your circle where people are losing parents. Today, you find more of that. Like I'm seeing more and more, and I'm connecting with more and more people who are going through losses, you know, and I can relate to them, or they may reach out to me because they know that I've gone through, you know. So finding that person, many people wants to come and help, right? So after all the cards leave and the flowers is gone and the funeral is over, it gets quiet.
Right.
You know, so, and many people offer to help. You need me, I'm there. And God bless everybody. But it's hard to find someone that you know you can absolutely relate to. So you tend to suppress many of those emotions that we're talking about, right? So by the time I left New York, I had to go back and be a sergeant. I had to go back, right? Straight back in there. I had to go back and be a stats. And I recall looking back on my career, how much I suppressed. I know I suppressed a lot, you know, and put that barrier up that, you know, we're going to push through, we're going to survive this. She would want me to survive this. I have a tattoo on my arm. I only have one tattoo right now, and it's in honor of her. So as many times, most people don't know, before I do anything, I grab my arm. A lot of times, you know, they don't know that I'm speaking to her or I need that support. But, you know, I think I did not open up enough. So if anything, it's being able to express, just like what this podcast is about, which you really had to get me to unarmor a little bit, right? But we know
that's the only requirement.
Right? So if I can help anybody in that sense, is even if you're just able to just talk about it out loud. And that's one thing I did not do. I felt like I had to conquer this world sometimes alone, and that's not always the best thing to do. So I learned as I got older to do better at that, as far as I talk a little bit more now. But I think it was my retirement that I openly said anything to a military community where I was always Sergeant Major, or even First Sergeant, even Gunny. You know, I was always that, and no one really knew all of my background, because you don't let it drop you too far, right? It's okay to trip, but it's really about getting back up and how we get back up. And I worked hard trying to make sure that I suppress anything that would keep me down, and I can continue to rise. So, but one thing that would have helped me years ago is if I was able to talk about it a little bit more. Challenges with raising my kids, challenges even in a relationship, when you don't have that one person to call, because you're still learning. I mean, we know a lot at early 20s, but we think we know more than we really know, right? So it really was about having that outlet person to really get to.
No, that's great advice. And your words to your mom was, to be my guardian angel, and I believe it was mutually communicated. But Robin, I've personally seen you over 2 decades be the guardian angel for thousands. I mean, literally, accurately speaking, thousands of human beings who you have impacted that you know of, and then folks you don't know about, including me. So you are a guardian angel to a lot of people, and I appreciate you removing your armor. That's one of the requirements, the main requirement for Unarmored Talk. You got to take it off. You got to remove it. And so thank you for opening up and to help people, to help people understand that Sergeant Major Robin Fortner, survive, right? We'll use the word survive, by not allowing her emotions to really take over her behavior. And I love the advice of you, saying that, find someone. Don't try to do anything by yourself, especially the loss of a parent. If people wanted to find you, Robin, where could they find you?
Oh, yeah. On every social media platform. My handle is RC Fortner. So at RC Fortner on Instagram, at RC Fortner on Twitter, Robin Fortner on LinkedIn and Facebook. Absolutely. I am more than willing to help anybody, talk to anybody. Those who know me know each one teach one, each one reach one. That has not died. I still live by that in and out of uniform. So absolutely. Always in your corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, she looks good to be 150 years, right, in the Marine Corps. No. Hey, but again, if you want to watch this episode, you can go to Mario/P/Fields/YouTube and subscribe and watch this live. If you want to listen to it, you can download it on the main platform called Apple Podcasts. Again, if you download it, we ask that you leave a rating, a review, and let us know how the show is doing. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.